Welcome to the Wonder With Me podcast, where I, Dr. Tonia Winchester, invite you to get curious with me about all things mind-body healing, especially how we can unlock the incredible healing power of our unconscious minds, so that we can all get out of stress mode and go back into healing mode. We'll talk about how you can easily create healthy, sustainable self-care habits so that you can calm your mind, sleep deeply, wake rested, and enjoy happy, energized days. Ultimately, so that you can make a bigger difference in your well-being and that of your family and the world around you. These casual chats are for educational purposes only and don't constitute a therapeutic relationship. With all that said, let's get this episode underway. Come wonder with me. Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Wonder With Me podcast. This is season 1, episode 15, and I'm your hostess, Dr. and/or Coach Tonia Winchester. This is called The Map Is Not the Territory, aka How I Lied to Myself for 8 years. It is a juicy one. I do not actually need to do too much of a preamble here because I do a great job at the beginning of the episode explaining what it's all about. And I am going to link in the show notes to 2 other episodes of the podcast, one about my weight release journey and 2, one called The Simple Trick to Get Anything You Want. I briefly touch on the toward motivation in this episode, and that one I just mentioned goes really deeply into this idea. Again, like some of the previous podcasts, you might notice my voice is a bit weak. Recovering from COVID did take some time for my body, and you can hear that in my voice. I think this one is a bit more high energy than some of the earlier ones, but you can still hear some of that weakness in my voice. I invite you to take exactly what you need out of this episode, and let's just get into it. Let's get wondering. This mini podcast is all about the internal beliefs and stories we tell ourselves. It's called The Map Is Not Your Territory, aka How I Lied to Myself for 8 years. And this podcast is a new story, and it relates back to the prime directives of the unconscious mind and the presuppositions of NLP. A presupposition is just a fancy word for an assumption. The presuppositions of NLP are convenient assumptions that do a really good job showing us how to see the world and how to live our lives in a helpful, more productive way. Frankly, I'm on board with whatever makes life easier and better. The podcast is about the presupposition that the map is not the territory. And even if you don't yet understand what I mean right now, you know this to be true. You know when you open a map, either on your phone or if you happen to kick it old school by unfolding a paper one, that you're looking at the geographic area in a symbolic way. You're not actually looking at the Rocky Mountains, but a 2D representation of them. It's an interpretation. So here's an example that illustrates how we can forget that the map is not the territory. An example from my own life where I believed that the map was the territory. For almost a decade, I believed, based on my filtered memory, my map, of my body composition history, that I would never be as lean and as fit as when I was studying for my naturopathic licensing exams. Focused entirely on passing those exams, I maintained a tightly disciplined, brain-friendly, body-vitalizing routine. It involved keeping a strict sleeping schedule, eating mostly paleo, and doing 4 things every day. Studying effectively, moving my body with high-intensity interval training workouts, doing walking, and, of course, dancing if you know me. Playing, which often, frankly, overlapped with moving my body. And lastly, doing something relaxing or zen every day. So things like visiting botanical gardens or Chinese gardens or watching a sunset at the beach. This was before I started meditating, but that would have been an appropriate thing to fit that relaxing or zen thing also. I had no responsibilities other than doing everything I could to pass those exams. I had no bills to pay. My parents were kind enough to let me stay and mooch off of them. Thank you, parents. I had no people to please. I even told a fellow I was dating that I had no availability for sleepovers. As you can imagine, that relationship didn't last long, and it just wasn't my priority. Motivated by my desire to pass my exams the first time And as a result of all of this focus, discipline, commitment, I ended up at my best body composition that I knew of in my life up until that point. Side note here about being at cause, using the language I ended up can be inferred as being on the effect side of the equation. Like, I don't know what happened, I just ended up waking up in a field with a straw-woven dress on, or some other random example. To be clear, in this case I say I ended up at my best body composition because I carefully curated all of those activities and was very much at cause of those choices. I didn't anticipate the really cool body benefits that ended up coming as a result, aka the effect. Okay, back to our regular broadcast. I was lean, strong, and felt really good in my body and my brain. A girlfriend even said to me, "You look fit." Yeah, and I felt it. It all worked. I passed the exams, and a couple months later I was licensed as a naturopathic doctor in British Columbia. That time period of my life was unique. From it, I created a map. Unconsciously, of course. The map said that the only way to be my fittest, leanest, strongest me was to have all the time in the world and no financial or any other type of responsibilities. You can think of an internal map like a series of belief systems. And I see a belief system is typically an unconscious narrative wired into the nervous system that every cell in the body knows to be true. And this drives specific behaviors, responses, reactions, and results to occur in one's life and one's health. Belief systems are filters that change how we see the world. And the way that we interpret what happens in our lives corroborates the beliefs. This is another important NLP presupposition that projection equals perception. More on that in a later podcast or post. So, for example, you believe that life is hard? Guess what? It will be. You think you're not lovable? Good luck finding love. Whenever I used to hear someone say, "I can't do blah, 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 XYZ, I'd snarkily, respond with, "Not with that attitude." And this is the delicate dance of belief systems. They silently dictate what you can and cannot achieve or have or enjoy in your life. Sadly, we often create these stories early on in life before we know any better. Okay, back to my fitness map. And then something crazy happened. And by then, I mean 8 years later. During those 8 years, my map said I'll never be as fit as that summer. Well, of course, not with that attitude. And so I was never as fit as that summer. After 8 years of this unconscious map reading, I found an old exercise tracking journal. What you track improves, which is why I task my coaching clients with tracking what changes they notice as they're going through their breakthrough. I found a record of my fitness routine and results from 2 summers after the one I just described. I blinked twice. My weight and my measurements matched exactly what they'd been 2 summers before. Exactly. I literally shook my head in disbelief. I'd been lying to myself. My map was wrong, out of date, expired, no good, no more. Those 2 summers felt energetically so opposite. The later summer was one of the most hectic and stressful times of my life. I was recently engaged. That was a good stress. And moving to Vancouver Island to start my life with my giant, aka my now husband. I was joining a new naturopathic practice on Vancouver Island, traveling by ferry boat back and forth every week, and attempting to sell my Vancouver practice. I was in the midst of extreme financial trauma and chose to file for bankruptcy. I moved back in with my parents for the nights I was in Vancouver. They let me do some more mooching, which I'm so grateful for. I was part of this dance performance group and we performed on most weekends. So for 6 months, the weeks looked something like this. Monday, I would see patients on Vancouver Island. Tuesday morning, I would see patients on Vancouver Island. Get on a ferry in the afternoon on Tuesdays, schlep with all my luggage to my dance rehearsal, and then schlep to my parents' house. Wednesday, I would see patients in Vancouver. Thursday, see patients in Vancouver. Then I would have my dance rehearsal. Friday, see patients in Vancouver, often a dance performance or an extra rehearsal. Saturday, see patients in Vancouver. Dance performance, take the boat back to the island. Sunday, this is when I would remember, oh yes, I have a significant other here that I want to actually be prioritizing also and spending time with. It all frankly felt so endlessly chaotic. So how is it that those 2 summers were energetically and emotionally so different, and yet I was able to achieve the same physical results? When I realized that I created the same results in my most hectic, stressful, and busy summer, I had to tear up the map. It wasn't accurate anymore. Clearly, it wasn't true that I needed those original circumstances to be at my best physically. In fact, it was possible to be there amidst incredible challenges and adversity and a lot of time crunches. Why I didn't change the map at the time during that second summer, I don't know. It's almost like it just didn't sync properly because those 2 summers felt so different. My unconscious mind chose to ignore it, and I'll believe that choice had a positive intention, and frankly, I'm okay never knowing for what purpose. Here's the take-home message for you. Your map is not the territory. Your internal belief systems are not reality. Your unconscious mind is hiding things from you, pulling the wool, putting on the blinders. And it's doing all of this for your highest good. The primest directive of the unconscious mind is to preserve the body. Sometimes it's doing this in a way that's based on old software and isn't as helpful when it comes to reaching new goals and transforming you beyond where you are. Old maps can keep you stuck, and isn't it better and potentially more fun to update the map, get a new lay of the land, and move forward into the best health and life of your dreams? And that's exactly what I do. I help my clients download a new map so that it matches what their heart desires and what they want to accomplish in their lives. If you are someone who has an inkling that your map might be out of date and maybe not the most supportive of you when it comes to you reaching your goals, then I encourage you to reach out and book a discovery call now. You can meet with me or my team and chat heart to heart to discover if what you're wanting is a match for how I love to help. Every month, I enroll 6 to 8 new clients who want to change their map, and they're able to do so easily and effortlessly through the work that we do together. Thank you so much for listening, and I look forward to connecting. Take good care, and may you choose to allow all your dreams to come true. Hey, thanks for wondering with me today. If you've got something good out of this, then please forward this episode along to the people who you know could benefit. Be sure to subscribe, and if you're really keen, you leaving us a rating and review helps us to help more people, so thank you in advance for that. If you're wanting more insights about how you can leverage the power of your unconscious mind to go back into healing mode, head on over to ToniaWinchester.com, where you'll find my book, Breakthrough the Insomnia Cycle, and other helpful ideas. Thanks again, and we'll connect on the next episode of the Wonder With Me podcast. In the meantime, may you choose to make all of your dreams come true.